What up, Giants fans? Before we get into today's show, I want to start it off with a question for all of you watching. I want you to name a second-round wide receiver you want the Giants to draft. I know there's a lot of rumors about them selecting one, potentially with the first pick, number 25 overall. So I want to hear from you right now. Name a guy in round 2 you want the Giants to draft. What up, everybody? You're watching New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. In today's show, we're going to take a look at some wide receivers that the Giants could draft in the second round, because we know that there's a lot of rumors surrounding the Giants pick number 25. Could they go get a Jordan Addison? Could maybe a Jackson Smith-Njigba fall, or Quentin Johnston, or Zay Flowers, or maybe even Jalin Hyatt if they trade down in round 1? But I want to talk specifically about guys that could be on the board with maybe pick 57, or maybe even the third round pick 89, because I do believe with one of the first 3 picks the Giants have, as you see now on screen, they are going to draft a wide receiver. And I think that is a smart pick at this point. I like what the Giants did in the offseason at the position, but I believe they need another outside wide receiver. They have a lot of slot receivers like Wan'Dale Robinson and Sterling Shepard and Jamison Crowder, and even Paris Campbell played a little bit in the slot for the Indianapolis Colts, and I believe he'll do the same with the Giants. So I want to take a look at 5 guys that I think could be on the board at pick 57 and or pick 89 that play on the outside of the field. Let's start with this guy, Cedric Tillman from Tennessee. I'm a big fan of this wide receiver. Cedric Tillman missed 6 games this past year for the Tennessee Volunteers, which really hurt his draft stock. And we'll show you some stats from the year prior, which really made him really appear on the big screen. But really, the reason I like him is because he's 6'3", 213 pounds, runs a 4.5 40, and he predominantly played on the outside the last 2 seasons. But the reason to like him is he had an absolute crazy productive season back in 2021 for Tennessee. 65 grabs in 12 games, 1,000 yards during the season, 16-plus yards per catch. He also have 12 touchdowns, and he had a long catch of 70 yards. You see right there in 2021 and 2022 that the guy stretches the field vertically with the long catch of 61 in 2022 and then last year of 70 yards. Had just 3 touchdowns this year, only played in 6 games like we talked about because of that ankle injury. That's not something I'm really worried about with Tillman going forward. I think he's a really good player, and there's some people in this world that think that he is going to be a better pro than Jalin Hyatt, his teammate. I'm a big fan of Tillman. If he's there at 57, pull the trigger. I'd love to see him with the New York Football Giants. I do know this. We are going to be live on the channel for round 1, day 2, and a little bit of day 3 for the NFL draft. So if you love the Giants and you want to watch a Giants experience, I would say, of the NFL draft. We're talking G-Men. We're talking all things New York Football Giants, not all the other teams we don't care about. We'll do that on the channel. So subscribe right now. Help us get to 28,000 subs on the channel. Lock us in. Probably my favorite second-round wide receiver is Rasheed Rice out of SMU. This dude has just had an elite amount of production in his college career at SMU. 6'1", 204 pounds, 4.5 40. Second team All-American this past year. First team All-ACC. Led the team in receiving. And my favorite thing about him is he was a team captain for SMU, which means he's liked in the locker room. His teammates respect him, and he goes about things the right way. And then you match that with the production the guy had, almost 100 grabs, 1,400 yards, 14 yards per catch, and 10 touchdowns. He could play on the outside. You can slide him in to the slot a little bit. Kind of gives me some C.D. Lamb vibes. Not nearly the twitchy athlete that C.D. Lamb is, but the contested catch, the creative catches, and the fact that he can get loose with the ball in his hands. Rasheed Rice would fit perfectly in a Mike Kafka and Brian Daboll offense. I would love if he falls to the Giants in round 2, maybe even be on the board in round 3. We got 3 more guys to get to, but first, I got to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, and that is Z-Biotics. Sometimes after our live streams get a little crazy and off the rails, and the super chats are flowing in, I don't bounce back well the next day, and that is until I found Z-Biotics. Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. It's designed to work like your liver, but in your gut where you need it most. Drink Z-Biotics before drinking alcohol, drink responsibly, and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. Give Z-Biotics a try for yourself. Go to zbiotics.com/chatsports to get 15% off when you purchase your first order, and you use code ChatSports at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they will refund your money. Go to zbiotics.com/chatsports. That link is clickable in the comments and description of today's show. And remember, use code ChatSports for 15% off. Promise me you'll love it and you'll thank me later. A guy that is rising up draft boards as we inch closer and closer to the NFL draft getting kicked off is Jonathan Mingo out of Ole Miss. And how can you not love this prospect? Not really a guy like DK Metcalf, not really a guy like A.J. Brown, but somewhere in the middle. Just replicates what those Ole Miss wide receivers bring. Size and speed and being a freak athlete. 6'2", 220 pounds, 4.4 40, second team all SEC. And he also, like Rice, was a team captain. That's something that I really, really like about prospects like Mingo, and also the fact that he's an absolute beast on the football field. Needs to get better at being a complete route runner, has some concentration drops, but when you're 6'2", 220 and you run a 4.4 and you average 17 yards per catch, you can play in the slot, you can play on the outside. He's a generator with the football in his hands. He's hard for these 5'10", 5'11 slot and nickel corners to tackle. I like him. He's like a running back when he gets the ball in his hands. Great when it comes to contested catches. I think he would flourish in an offense like the New York Giants. A guy that could replicate somewhat what Darius Slayton does by having elite speed on the outside is Marvin Mims out of OU. Just 5'11", 183 pounds, which may be a concern for some people, but for me, it's not, and it's because of that number right there. The guy runs a 4.38 40. He is a blazer. Shouts out to 420. You know what I'm talking about. He can extremely stretch the field, and he puts a lot of pressure on opposing defensive backfields. First team all Big 12, and he led the OU Sooners in receiving this past year when he put up over 1,000 yards. And what is the craziest stat to me is on 54 receptions, the guy averaged 20 yards per catch. He is a big play threat. Him and Danny Dimes could, I think, become a lethal duo. I think he could be a Darius Slayton replacement, maybe when Slayton is entering his contract year next year or after that year. He is a guy that I think is plug and play in this offense. The reason he's slipping a little bit, maybe not a first-round guy, is the hands are a little bit questionable. Also, like Mingo, has some concentration drops. But when you have that type of speed and production like Mims did, it's going to be tough to pass up on. He also had 6 tutties for the Boomer Sooners. This is a guy that I think is closer to a round 3 player than round 2, but I am a big fan of A.T. Perry out of Wake Forest, one of the true outside big wide receivers in this draft class. 6'5", 205 pounds. Not an elite athlete, not a bad athlete, but he wins up here. He is an extremely smart football player. He can play in the slot. He can play on the outside. He's got all of the routes in his bag. First team all ACC 2 times, and he led the Wake Forest football team in receiving each of the past 2 years with 1,300 yards pretty much in 2021 and over 1,000 yards, almost 1,100 yards in 2022. 150 grabs over the past 2 seasons, 26 touchdowns, a long of 69, nice, and 68 in 2022. He can be a big play threat, but I think he kind of gives me Michael Thomas vibes, where he could just be that big guy over the middle on the outside that wins with size and a little bit of athleticism. Physical player, there at the point of attack. I'm a fan of him. I think he's a good run blocker as well. I think if he's there at pick number 89 in round 3, he could be a New York Football Giant. So we've gone through 5 guys in today's show. I want to hear from you before I tell you which one of these guys is my favorite, which you may already know because I did say it earlier in the video, but maybe you were sleeping a little bit. Tell me which one you like the best. If you were on the clock, say pick 57, and maybe it's someone else. You can tell me who they are in the comments. Let me know which one of these guys you like the best, though. Sound off in the comments section. Type their initials down below. Appreciate everybody for tuning in to today's video. We are less than a week away from round 1 of the NFL draft. I am very excited to see what Joe Schoen is going to do in his second draft as the Giants general manager. Would not be shocked if they go wide receiver in round 1. I wouldn't be shocked if they go corner or maybe even center in round 1. That's why I wanted to focus on round 2 and round 3 wide receiver draft targets. We'll continue to put out content every day leading up until the NFL draft. So lock us in, hit that sub button, and show some love. Leave a like on this video. Let's go Giants.